Good morning, here's Creamer's Corner with daily technical update. It is Tuesday the 27th of February. A little bit negative day on the US market yesterday where we set back a little bit. We are in very stretched uptrend, as we can also see here. We talked about it for a long time, divergence, and that's what it is. Divergence is just a warning sign. It is not a top and reversal. Then we are looking for top and reversal pattern, but this could be actually a bit of a top and reversal pattern. It's not the most beautiful one. If it had been, then it would have been a doji here where market opened in more or less in the same price, but we're very close to it. So this could actually be a top and reversal after reaching 138.2 of this little correction here. We're still above the rising trend line, but if it does close the gap here, then we could see a test of 49.20, which is key support, and this lower rising trend line there. So look out for that, and if we see RSI dipping below 60, then it could spell some trouble for for S&P 500, but also Nasdaq 100. Quite stretched, hasn't really formed a top and reversal, but there's a lot of warning signs in the RSI. Key support 17,478. Here we closed just a few cents above, so it was home safe, but it could easily break lower. And this gap here is what we are looking for. If that's being closed, well, then selling pressure could intensify. EUROSTOXX 50 moving a little bit higher. There's still room up to 4,900. I don't think we will reach 5,000, maybe a little bit lower than that. But if we close the gap here from a few days ago, well, then we are in a correction mode. A little bit stressed, but looks a little bit better than the US markets, and we are still above its rising trend line, RSI, rising trend line there. But keep an eye on this rising trend line and the gap area here, 48.12 as 47.75, which is key. Then we have the DAX index ticking higher again this morning, looking at 17,500. I'm not quite sure we will get all the way up to 17,660. We could. I mean, we are in an uptrend despite there's been divergence, being a little bit stressed. Here we also have a gap area that should be observed, but for now it looks fairly okay and trust the trend. So I think we will reach 17,500 and maybe a bit more. AX testing lower rising trend line here, formed a bit of a little bit weird of a top pattern. We have this this doji here and a negative candle a little bit lower yesterday. We had a divergence on RSI, so if we're starting trading below here, we could see a test of the gap area at 837. That's what you should look out for, and especially if it closes the gap with the closing below 831, that will be key. Belgian market, I'm almost falling asleep when looking at it. It's basically moving sideways here between 3,736 and a change and 3,700 a little bit. So it still needs to break out for any meaningful direction. CAC 40. In an uptrend, fairly strong uptrend, gapped higher here the other day. We can put that little, right there. So 78.75 is the short-term support level. This gap area here where it really gapped higher, that's should be observed. There is room further to 8,000. We'll probably try to test it. We were very close to it the other day, but I think it could be it. The Swiss market has been lagging quite a bit, the other markets, but it has regained some ground here after breaking above 11,333. There is room up to around 11,600. Debatable if we will actually get there. If not, and we move back below 11,350, well, then we could see selling pressure really returning. FX markets. Euro dollar ticking higher, has reached once again 38.2 retracement of this downtrend here, but the key resistance is just around 109. If we can break above that, and also especially closing above, and especially if we can close RSI above 60, then we are in a bullish trend with a confirmation with a potential to 110, possibly higher, but 110 will be the next key strong resistance. Cable once again testing 127 in this region here. Past 3-4 days have been doing that. A close above, I will say, if it suddenly spikes higher, well, then we're looking at 127.75, possibly 128 and a change. Dollar yen, excuse me, dollar yen losing momentum again here. It can't really get its act together. Seems like it needs to test the 149.75 support once again, possibly. And if it does close up below, well, we could see a move down to 148.80, possibly lower. So it's forming maybe a little bit of a double top pattern. It's not that it's like a compressed one. But let's see what will happen here in the next couple of days. We are still in an uptrend, but it's really seems to be failing at the moment. Euro yen, a little bit of correction here today, but we are in an uptrend. There's no divergence. We should move higher to 164.20 fairly soon. Also, yen seems to be like we are having a little bit of correction. Could correct down to around 98 and 97 spot 92 in this area before I think we'll see next uptake. Sterling yen. Also a little bit of correction. Expect that after reaching 161.8 projection of this correction down here, possibly testing the lower rising trend line, but I think we will see it moving higher here in coming days and weeks. Jumping on the way to the dollar index. Oh, sorry, I forgot the Aussie dollar. Forgot about that one. That's very important because it's actually testing the 65.20 support this morning, very close to at least just a few cents above. If it does break below, and here I mean break, not necessarily just a close, but I think it will break below, and then we have a move potential downside potential to 64, and then we are talking about dollar index slightly sliding lower here, testing the 200 moving average, giving some support, and if it can take out the lows here at 103.12 from last week, well then we could see lower levels towards 102. If it starts picking up, moving back above the 100 moving average and the 21 here, then we could have a little bit of upside. But for now, the selling pressure is on. Moving on to gold, which seems to be crawling higher this morning and trying again to take out the little resistance area here around 235. We are currently above. If we can move up to 248, well, then we will also most likely move up to test the 2065. Really strong key resistance for further upside. But then we will also be back in positive sentiment on the RSI if that scenario plays out. So I could see maybe a move towards the 2065, a setback, and then it will have another go at the key strong resistance. But if it's sliding back again here, and it takes out 2015, these low here from the other day, well then we are looking at 2000 and below that level once again. Silver, well, yeah, it's sliding a little bit lower, picking up today, but we are still in this range here, so fairly boring for silver market, really. On the energy side, also fairly boring. We have a tighter range for WTI after being rejected at the resistance up here at 79.77, 75.5 around that level. We have some support. I think we can remove that one for now at least. So this is the range, but you can see we have higher bottoms here. We have higher lows, so we are in. We have an underlying bullish sentiment, but it can't really materialize by breaking higher here. Same picture on Brent, of course. Well, I would say a little bit more depressed because it didn't test that resistance there. And 80.70 is the support, at least the short term, and the lower rising trend line. But underlying bullish bias, but it really needs to break higher in the on the this resistance here. Let's just have a quick look at Henry Hub. That has been quite volatile lately. Henry Hub gas, one of the most traded ones here, hovering around the 38.2 retracement, quite volatile. It's this bullish engulfing bottom and reversal pattern is still in place. It's still active, and we could still see a move up to around $2 for Henry Hub. If it does take out the lows, well, then we are looking at 125 and lower. Finally, let's have a look at the US 10-year Treasury yields. Was very close to retesting the 420, 419 support. It could be seen here the next couple of days, but as you can see, we have the moving average coming up here, 55, and the 200, very important moving average. They will give some support, but then we have the 100 to the upside. So it's kind of being squeezed between those two. So, and it really needs to break above 435 for and move higher. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.